This 250cc Model 40 Red Panther's known history goes back to the 1950s, when its tyres and rubber saddle were already well past their use-by date. It was new in 1939, and sometime after the war, its engine was robbed of spark plug, carburettor and lighting set. The gearbox survived a failed attempt to remove its cover. Half-exposed internals preserved by thick grease. A challenging rebuild began in 2015 and was completed in early 2017. The Panther was dated by the Owners Club's machine registrar, inspected on behalf of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency, and allocated an age-related registration. We were on the road at last. In early May 2017, following some local shakedown miles, I was ready to give it a real test. The 120-mile round trip to my nearest Panther Owners Club monthly meeting. Starting the Red Panther is easy. Fuel tap on, prod the float plunger, set the Bowden air lever on the right bar fully closed, and back off the matching advanced lever on the opposite bar. Ease over compression, turn the headlight mounted switch for coil ignition, check illumination of the telltale lamp on the opposite side, and give the starter a firm push. Select first gear and release the featherlight clutch for a smooth takeoff. Peterborough on the River Nene in the east of England is our starting point. This is the north bank, where the road drops to river level at the Core 10 steel Millennium footbridge. We run close to mean sea level here, a sluice downriver protecting the city from tidal flows. The riding position, rather upright, wide 1-inch handlebars, will take some adjusting to. But I'll be here for an hour or two, ample time to settle in, go numb, and practice my bum shuffle. Approaching the Dog in a doublet sluice, where the river becomes tidal, we rise to the top of the flood bank. And here we cross the Nene and drop down onto the washes. These, like the Riverside Road, may be flooded and impassable following periods of heavy rain. In the old days it was left to the individual to judge whether it was safe to cross. But in recent years locked gates have saved us that worry. Ahead is the market town of Whittlesea, home to 16,000 odd fenland folk, and I trust you not to misunderstand that phrase. Here we pass the first of many filling stations, but the 2¼ gallon tank is already full. If we get within pushing distance of the little motor's claimed 115 miles per gallon, the fuel we carry will see us there and back. I'll fill up somewhere on the return run anyway. This lightweight is fast proving that it's not a machine to leave in the shed to gather cobwebs. Discomforts? I'm expecting some of those. The Red Panther is small in stature, and its 280 pounds and 54-inch wheelbase notice every pothole and pebble. People have also commented on the Dunlop Drylastic saddle's lack of absorption, but that should not be an issue on this cool, dry day. I may be in my anecdotage, but I'm not yet incontinent. "6 miles behind us, and out on the Ramsey Road we slow briefly for a train on the Peterborough to Ely railway line. I fluff the gears, which change in an unfamiliar up-for-up direction. Only an ungainly wobble and a slipping clutch let me continue feet up until I find my place again. first, second and third gear ratios seem well matched, but the 5.7 to 1 top gear is one giant leap for a 250, and the engine bogs a little. This short-lived Burman HPB gearbox, modified from the hand change version, has gained a poor reputation. Even the handbook gives dire warnings of damage which may result from heavy use of a boot. Be patient, and the flywheels are soon spinning again. At 40 mph, it's getting into its stride, and with the running-in period well advanced, I'm increasing its workload by the mile. At 45 mph, the overhead valve engine begins to sing. How will it sound when I reach the heady heights of its claimed top speed, 65 miles an hour? We wind southward through the spring green lanes of Cambridgeshire, Huntingdon and Essex. My admiration for this little beauty grows with each mile, the engine smooth and willing, the gearbox showing none of the faults that its reputation suggested. Wear leading to involuntary disconnections of the drive is stated as the main bugbear. New bearings and bushes, and a fill of modern semi-fluid grease should look after that. The relined brakes, 6-inch front and 7-inch rear, are more than adequate given the usual forward planning required when riding a motorcycle of this era. They may improve further as they bed in. Lightweight Webb girder forks handle surprisingly well, their adjustable dampers taking the sting out of ramps and ruts. A replica Dunlop dry elastic rubber saddle cover is really not so cruel to a backside padded with leathers over jeans. But perhaps most impressive is the fact that Felon and Moore created this little gem at a knockdown price without apparently skimping on engineering quality. It feels as if it will run forever. road winds through the villages towards Huntingdon, county town, with a population around 24,000. 16 miles into our trip, we skim its eastern edge, pick up the ring road briefly, and cross our next river, the Great Ouse. It seems remarkable now that this narrow stone bridge carried both the A14 and A605 traffic until the 1960s. Shortly after that crossing, we passed below the bridge, which replaced it, similarly obsolete once the new road links M11, A14 and A1 to the south of the towns. Across the river is neighbouring Godmanchester. The panther is surely on home ground here, just a handful of miles from the farm where it was found in the late 1950s. A service engineer working on the diesel generator spotted it tucked in a corner. Could he do a deal? Sorry, the farmer told him, it's not mine. It belongs to a chap who used to work for me. Maintenance man John saw the bike on each annual visit, until the farmer told him the land had been purchased to make way for a new reservoir. If you still want that old bike, you'd better take it before it goes under. Was this the 30s equivalent of the Honda Step-Through, a machine for every man at an everyman price? It may have been the least expensive proper motorcycle on the UK market in 1939, though this model has deluxe additions of 4-speed gearbox, a speedometer and lighting set to push its price from the Red Panther's oft-quoted £28, 17 and sixpence to over £30. When new, it could be bought for a £15 deposit and 18 monthly payments of less than £1.50, or £1 10 shillings, as we old folk used to say. Sole dealers Pride and Clark allowed perhaps £2 against an old bike. As a worker in industry just before the Second World War, I'd be earning around £2 10 shillings for a 50-hour week. So with the down payment made, I still need to find around 7 shillings, almost an eighth of my weekly wage, for the hire purchase. Beyond the towns we climb from the river valley and cross the scars of the new A14 trunk road, due to open the following year. Here the next thrill of the trip presents itself, an overtaking opportunity. In 1939, when the Panther was new, steam was still a viable source of locomotion. Even with my voluntary speed limit, for the sake of new mechanicals, a traction engine can't come close. I'd tell a lie if I said that initial road trials were unmarked by any problem. When new, the Panther employed a Miller 3-brush dynamo with built-in cutout. Past experience has proved that this system copes poorly with varying demand, and as the Model 40 has coil ignition, forward motion relies on a first-class charging system. I set up the dynamo for basic 2-brush output, controlled by a later style regulator fitted under the saddle. An AO Services multicolour LED replaces the ignition warning bulb on the headlight, and it was that rather than a jittering ammeter which alerted me to a lack of charge after a few miles. I flashed the cutout contacts to re-energize the field coil, and it worked again for a while before failing, a scene revisited several times before I realized that charging was maintained as long as I didn't replace the replica regulator's pressed lid. A tiny, shiny witness inside pointed me to the fact that dynamo output was periodically short-circuiting to earth on the case. village of Papworth Everard, bypassed now, is famous for the hospital where the first successful UK heart transplant was carried out. Beyond is Caxton Gibbet Roundabout, where we cross the road between Cambridge and St Neots. Here we dive into the lanes to thread across country through Caxton, Bourne, Kingston, Haslingfield and Harston, skirting south of the city of Cambridge and crossing the juvenile River Cam. The Panther, once an acquaintance, is fast becoming a friend through these villages where I first rode a motorcycle, the happy highways where I went and find that I can come again. On the left, an old drinking place, the Bees in the Wall, wafts by. Soon afterwards, on the right, I see that the once notorious Tickell Arms is still open. In the late 1960s, the landlord there had a reputation for refusing to serve a customer if he didn't like the look of them. Not wishing to court the possibility of such rejection, I never drank there. Approaching the village of Duxford, now over 50 miles into our trip, we pick up the A505 and scoot along to join the Saffron Walden Road south of Sawston. So where was I? Yes, the history of the bike. Roll forward 40 years to the millennium. Service engineer John, now retired, and following a tumble from his trials cotton, decides that his motorcycling days are over. The Panther changes hands again, still in a state of suspended animation. New owner Steve, a friend in the Vintage Motorcycle Club, looks after it for 10 years, collecting the odd missing part, before he realises that he is never going to find time to get it going. Knowing my love of the mark, he asks if I know anyone who might be interested, and it turns out that I do. We strike a deal, and figuring that the Red Panther has been waiting long enough, I drop everything and set to work on a rebuild. Taking under the A11 link to M11, we join the old A11 and head Londonwards through the villages of Great Chesterford and Littlebury, where, with 500 rebuild miles now showing, I let the needle creep to a breathtaking 50 miles per hour. Beyond Audley End House, we enter the final straight before our destination, the Fighting Cocks, Wendon's Amber. I park head-to-head with Dick's Panther Garrard, fresh from a run to the Solent section rally, and climb off, glowing with pride and pleasure, only to be upstaged by Steve's arrival on his recent purchase, a 1928 FN. Just showing off? Why else are we here?
Fantastic.
Yeah. Did you pass a load of guys on Harleys and big?
Oh
choppers?
yeah.
All
Just
going up. Was it a little port? Is it or something they got to do on?
oh, I don't know.
Was there?
Don't know.
Loads of them. You know.
I thought you meant overtook them.
Oh no, well you would do, wouldn't you? I mean, they're too greedy looking to see looking at them. Well, there you go. That looks great. Stunning.
That's running really well.
What are you up to now, Speed boys?
I've got your metal work.
Look at that. That's the doorway of the urinal side. What are you up to,
Hi.
Speed boys now then?
Well, just touching 50 on the last stretches there, but a bit of class machinery.
He's just showing off.
Later in the year, we make a pilgrimage to Graffham Water Reservoir, where, but for service engineer John's interest, the Red Panther would almost certainly have met a watery end.